So the decision around leadership change was made in fall of 2019. So Walter had kind of done the rounds at that summer offsite, asking all of us what we wanted. And I just pointed at him and I was like, I want your job. And it was like, okay.
I love it. You gotta ask for what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Walter spent some time thinking about, each of us. And so then it was like, Devin, CEO, Haley, COO, Jimmy, Superpath. And so it was really organic. Like it wasn't, Haley and I talked about it because from the very beginning when we joined, we were like, we're going to run this company. Like we're going to do it. We're going to do it together. And, we talked about like co-leading and she was like, Devin, I don't want to be the CEO. I don't want it. So it just fell together so perfectly where, there wasn't that any kind of like angst. The team loved it because like going from, Walter, who's the brilliant sort of instigator, right? Founders are terrible leaders often. We came in and everyone's like, thank God things make sense now.
Structure, operations, yay. Yeah.
A ban against saying the word stupid. I had to come in and I was like, Walter, you're not allowed to say stupid in Slack anymore. Like you can't say that word. I'm sorry. So yeah, so that part. And then, so we basically what we had done was, once Walter decided on this, it was my job to set up the entire transition, which I'd never done before. So I made a year-long timeline for my own transition throughout 2020 that would be, internal messaging and getting ramped up and then making an announcement in September. It was so beautiful, Alex. I was going to launch a new service product every month, my first 3 months after becoming CEO, to show a ton of, it was
your master marketing plan. I love it. Yeah.
God, it was so beautiful. I was going to look like a total badass. Everyone's going to be like, yeah. And then the pandemic started to come down on us. And I looked at Walter and I said, listen, man, you're not the guy to get us the team through this. I said, it's gotta be me. And he agreed. I'm sure he wasn't complaining about it. No, I don't think leading through the pandemic was anyone's cup of tea except me, who's like, I'm going to tackle this. And so we just made the decision and messaged it to the team. There went my brilliant marketing plan, but it turns out we didn't need it because the initial purge of clients that happened out of fear, immediately after that, they're like, wait a second. Like we still need, we fired our marketing teams. Now we need help. Then things start to pick up again in 2021 where now they're, every money is free and SaaS is doing really well. So now we've already built our reputation. We already have big logos on us. We have a process we're known for. The word of mouth drove our growth. I don't think we ever marketed the company until into 2022 when I could see things were going to go uphill. It was sheer management of inbound volume. That's incidentally, I didn't plan for us to grow that quickly. What I was trying to do in 2020 through the beginning of 2022 is manage the organic growth that was happening. And so that reflects on how fast we build the team, whether these processes we have actually scale past a certain point, which I made a ton of mistakes there. Missed a milestone or two. I was like, oh, turns out that was an inflection point in company growth. And I just blew past it. And now, and then the other part is just managing it out in the world, right? We were having customers with a 3-month wait list to join. And by the time we got started with them, they were already impatient. And so now there's a customer dissatisfaction where they're like, we've been waiting 3 months to start. They want to see everything immediately. And so I kind of ended up playing the Fed with our pricing to kind of discourage some of the demand to place us in a smaller bracket of people so that we didn't get known as an agency that's
Devin
unavailable.
Bramhall,
Yeah. It's crazy the stuff you have to manage though. It's you think it's always going to be getting the business, getting enough business, but there's a flip side to that too, which is, managing the growth that you're seeing, especially if it's coming on fast.
What did the content machine look like in Animalz? Because it's so interesting to have 130 people working there. You have all these clients. You must have had a really clear, I don't know, process to work with each client. And I'm curious, yeah, what was that process like? And then also, were you hiring contractors or was everyone full time? Like, how did you sort of think about the staffing side of this challenge? Because that's always the problem with agencies, like this balance of demand from clients and your resourcing and all of that. It can get very, very tricky to balance.
Interesting thing about the full time. So everybody was full time at the time. And that was one of our biggest selling points to clients back then, because there was that kind of like historic agency legacy of like, everyone's a contractor and it sucks. And, people keep changing on my account. So we were deliberate about doing full time. That was sort of a differentiator. So on the structure, we had an editing team. That was a big thing. So it's like you have the content creator, you have the editor, and you have sort of the strategist who manages a book of business with clients, and the team of producers, right? It wasn't always like that in the beginning. The producers managed their accounts too, but it's just boring, typical agency growth stuff where like, as you go along, you're like, okay, some of these roles need to be split out. I've never seen a perfect model ever. But the important thing that we did from the beginning was have a model that grounded us in all the decisions we made. And this came from Walter. Like, I learned this from him. And so it gave us these natural constraints where it's like, we want to maintain X gross margin and Y profit margin. And those are our constraints. And so building a system within that was extremely helpful in keeping us disciplined along the way. Like, it was really hard in the beginning as I was learning it. I was like, and then now I realized that was the foundation for enabling like the scale that we got to, because if you take that business model and then you apply it goes into how you hire and how you forecast hiring. It goes into profitability by client, by team member, all that stuff. So it was really easy for us, and then that bleeds into your pricing. So you're like, okay, we know that to make X gross margin on, each client's paying $10K a month. Like, this is, these are the levels of people that can be in the producer. This is the level of editor, strategist, et cetera. So it made our decision-making it was made for us and allowed us more of that consistency. Again, this took us some time to put together. So it's not like this happened immediately, right? This is over time. That's one of the things I've seen with other agencies I've worked with is like, they don't always have a source of truth around the decisions they make day to day. And so it makes scaling feel impossible because it's like, well, how much do we pay this person versus this person? And it's like, having that model from the get-go and not only helped run the business, but helped scale the business and forecast, right? Like we would update the forecast every quarter based on how things were going. And, if we're trying, we have 3 different scenarios. And so it's like, you get to the end of Q1, things are starting to blow up. We're like, okay, we got to do a big hiring push. If we want to service all this demand, like we've got to, so it really helped for me in leading the business and learning how to lead the business.
Yeah, agencies are such a tricky business. It is such an interesting just balance of resources because you're essentially selling just like people's brains, right? To your customers and their services. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, but to that end, actually, we were always looking to, create like knowledge share. And so take a business model and we try to apply that in terms of templates for doing specific like reporting templates, edit like brief templates. Cassie developed a whole education portal for us and translate
really,
that to onboarding.
Yeah, really
like resource center. So it's like people can self-teach as well, be enabled because again, we're a distributed team also. So it's like having this set of resources available for people to utilize to teach themselves, making them more independent, and then using onboarding as a kind of a teaching moment as well. Because again, our mission, so the mission that I set when I came in was to make the internet a more helpful place, right? Big goal you can never achieve. And the way we did that was one, through helping companies put better content out in the world, but two, putting the best content marketers out in the world. And that was a sneaky way for me to get around the fact that tenure at agencies is usually pretty short. So I tried to flip that on its head and be like, we're putting the best content marketers out in the world. Yeah. You're welcome, everybody. Turn a negative into a positive. But it worked, right? Like even the people who, like the folks who left, that's the biggest thing that I hear is like, they taught me how to be a better content marketer, and they got hired at really great companies as a result.
Yeah, the alumni network from Animalz is so strong. It's crazy. Like I see everybody popping up over LinkedIn, and I was a happy customer of Animalz too. It's really interesting to see out there on LinkedIn and everybody doing their next kind of thing as well. I'm
really proud of it. Like that's one of the things I'm proud of the most. I didn't do it by myself. It was a team effort. Haley and I it was like Cassie and Ryan Law. They were the sort of, we came in and we quickly saw like, oh, these people know their shit. And so really I credit them with helping us build the company alongside, Ryan on the product, service, and then marketing. And then Cassie, I mean, she built a lot of the templates, the resources, the education, and then she ended up helping us with things around like operations and HR and stuff too. So she was insatiable. And so they deserve a lot of credit as well for being those young people who are hungry and are just like, give me something, and helped shape, among many others, achieve that mission.